So I've come up with what some people may say is a terrible idea.
I recently moved to the city of Calgary in Alberta, Canada. Calgary is a city that's split in half by the Bow River. Starting at Baker Park, the Bow River flows through downtown and southwards towards Fish Creek. A series of trails run alongside this river, covering a route of about 45 kilometres.
And I'm going to be doing the whole thing in a brand new shoe straight out of the box. This is the On Running Cloudstratus, and I thought it would be interesting for you guys to see how well they break in straight out of the box on the longer runs that they are recommended for. Where I am now, this is the end point where I'm leaving my car in Fish Creek Provincial Park. The plan is to get to Baker Park on the other side of the city and then hopefully make it back to my car. That whole process took probably well over 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours or more. But you can see I'm on the edge of Calgary now, and behind me is the Bow River. And that's the river that I'm going to be following today for the next 4 or 5 hours until I run back to my car.
Starting run.
I've just hit the 5 kilometre mark, and so far the shoes are doing pretty well. There's no hot spots, no rubbing, so I think for sizing and fit, they're pretty decent. I've sized these as a US 10, which is actually the same as what I run in my Hokas and pretty much most other shoes, so I haven't had to size up or down. One thing to note with these though is, compared to some of the other On Running shoes, the Cloudstratus does have a slightly wider toe box, which in my eyes is a good thing. A little bit more space around the toes never really does me any harm, and really just helps those toes splay out and reduces any chances of blistering or rubbing. Just hit the 10k mark and the shoes are still doing well. I suppose the most unique thing about On Running shoes is their kind of cloud tech. You've probably seen the shoes with those really distinctive soles with kind of holes going through them, and that's what's giving you your cushioning. In the Cloudstratus, they've got 2 layers of their Helium foam or their cloud tech, so it's kind of holes on top of holes. And I think the idea of that is that it molds to the runner, so it's not like you've got a softer foam on the back and a firmer foam at the front. Those holes just kind of mean the shoe gives where you land and where you impact, so it will kind of mold you as you go. However, I'd probably have to say, at the moment, I mean, they are pretty fresh. I don't feel like they've got as much cushioning as, say, some of the Hokas that I run in. But we'll see how that goes as the run progresses. It's raining. I'm not particularly happy about it. Hopefully it doesn't last for long. Just about coming into the city now. Hey, slice of meat lovers and a slice of the barbecue chicken piece. Now you don't get this on a normal marathon. So I am about 22 kilometers in, I think now, and probably with the same amount to go, but shoes are still holding up really well. On Running do suggest that these shoes are good from 5Ks to a marathon, so they should stay pretty comfortable for the duration of the run. A couple of other things I've noticed with these, they do have a little bit of rocker in them, and you do kind of feel that as you go through your gait cycle. They've also got what they call their springboard, like a kind of like a shank that will kind of help give a bit of spring to your step, and hopefully over the longer distances that will mean that I won't get as much fatigue in my feet. So we'll see how it feels after another 20. "30 kilometers in, feet feel good, legs getting pretty tired." I do have to say that they do feel very stable, these shoes. Like, they have a plastic heel cup in them to kind of help the stability, And on the uphill, that heel stays on really nicely. I've not got them done up super tight. And I think they've kind of found a good middle ground with the cushioning there, because they haven't got it as just soft cushion. It has that Cloud Tech to kind of flex and compress. They found a good middle ground of having a cushioned sole but keeping it stable. It's hailing now. I don't think I could have picked a worse day for this review. It's hailing pretty bad. I'm just going to try and run to this bridge. They're getting quite big, and if they get any bigger it's going to start hurting. I think I might have to shelter under the bridge for a little bit then, I reckon. God, that came out of nowhere. We had downpours, now thunderstorms, hail, as well as bright sunlight. So really trying the shoes out in every condition for you. The grip is holding up well though. I've not slipped on wet concrete, ice or hail. So it must be some pretty good grip for a road runner. So I just hit the marathon mark. So that is the limit of what On Running say these shoes are designed for. But I am impressed, in all honesty. For an out-of-the-box marathon, I have had no issues in regards to rubbing or discomfort due to the way the shoe fits, like at all. I was a little bit worried because on the back of the shoe, it's quite high and it has this little cutout for your Achilles. And I was a bit worried that that might give me a bit of rubbing or a bit of jip kind of along the way. But in all honesty, I think you won't have any issues if you use the right kind of sock, like a running sock with a tab on the back, or just a higher cut. And I haven't had any issues at all. It's been great. But unfortunately, due to a miscalculation on my part and kind of doing detours, I think I'm going to have to run a fair bit further to get back to my car. So I'm going to push the Cloudstratus beyond their recommended marathon distance and see how they go. Bit of a nicer way to end the trail today, just coming through the end of Fish Creek for the last 5Ks. Pretty flat plain, the Bow River's just over there, but beautiful nonetheless. So I missed the shortcut, or the route I was going to take originally, and due to a couple of miscalculations, this 42-kilometre run has now turned into 55k. I'm not going to lie, the last few kilometres has been torture. I'm running into a headwind as well, which you might be able to tell. So I've decided to walk the last few Ks. There it is. There's my car. My car. It's just over there. I've never been so relieved to see that 2006 Toyota Matrix. .6 kilometres in the end. Here are my final thoughts. So my final thoughts on the On Running Cloudstratus. Now obviously I wouldn't recommend doing what I did and running a 55-kilometre run straight out of the box. But in all honesty, I was really impressed with the comfort of this shoe. Like over that long distance, I didn't have any rubbing, I didn't have any hot spots. One thing I should mention is that this is a 6mm drop, this shoe. And that is pretty similar to what I've run in before. And sometimes that can make quite a difference. But for a brand I've never run in before, I really cannot fault the comfort and the fit. What do I like about this shoe? Well, I really liked the rocker and the springboard shank through the bottom. I really felt this did help me kind of be a bit quicker step to step and kind of go through my gait cycle a bit more efficiently. So I did really enjoy that. I also like this Cloud Tech and the concept of it. I suppose because you're not really using like a really, really soft foam, but the holes there are giving you that compression. So you're kind of getting cushioning whilst also keeping stability. So I think it's a really good mid-ground there. So it's an interesting concept for sure. What things do I not really understand about the shoe? I suppose one thing they always kind of talk about is this lacing system on the forefront of the shoe. They call it the Star-Cross lacing system, I believe. But in all honesty, that didn't really do a lot for me. Like, I found I didn't have to do up the shoe really tight anyway to keep it locked on. So maybe for some people this would be super useful and you can kind of adjust how it feels around the front of your foot. But for me, it didn't really do a lot. But maybe it does get some style points. What do I not like about the shoe? Well, in all honesty, there's very little I don't like about the shoe. It looks great and it runs great.
Maybe there could be a little bit more cushioning in the sole, but again, that's kind of my personal preference and something I'm used to, especially with a road runner. If I really needed to be picky and pedantic, I suppose what I could mention is how deep these ridges are on the bottom of the shoe. That's part of the Cloud Tech. But at one point I did get a stone caught in the bottom there, and it was really obvious that there was a stone in the bottom of the shoe. But in the shoe's defense, I did walk over essentially like a gravel bank full of stones. So it's not like your normal running situation. And as well, towards the end of my run, I did stand in some dog poop. And my God, does that make a mess in there. It's so deep and it's got these holes, it kind of goes everywhere a bit and it's pretty tough to clean. Hopefully not something you're going to be coming across very often, but it was difficult to get it clean. But apart from that, can't really fault the shoe. Definitely going to run in this a lot more in the future. And that's the On Running Cloudstratus. And as always, if you are close to a Wild Earth store, pop in and see the guys there, try a pair on, have a walk around in them. Everyone's foot is a bit different, so the fit will work differently for everybody really. But I would definitely be adding the Cloudstratus to your list of maybes for your next road running shoe.